to the Church of Perpetual Life. It's so good to have you here tonight. We have some great events tonight. My name is Neil Vandry. I will be your officiator here tonight, and I just want to welcome you again for tuning in Zoom or in YouTube live stream, or if you're watching the recording. So glad to have you. Tonight we have two wonderful speakers. We have both Rudy Hoffman and Alex Crouch. Rudy Hoffman will be coming on first, and he'll be coming and staying with us as Alex Crouch will be talking about the RRG. You're going to want to hear these talks. We're going right now into our Perpetual Life Creed. Our Perpetual Life Creed, we believe that all of life is sacred and that we have been given this one life to make unlimited. We believe in our Creator's divine plan for all of humanity to have infinite lifespans in perfect health, and eternal joy, rendering death to be optional. By following our prophets, we achieve eternal life, creating a heaven here on earth. We follow Nikolai Fedorov, who taught that the transcendence of the Creator will be solved only when humanity, through our unified efforts, become an instrument of universal resuscitation, when the divine word becomes our divine action. And we follow Arthur C. Clarke, who said the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. And so we enter each day energized in spirit and empowered by the words of our prophets to live in joy, serving our Creator and the human race forever and ever. This is our creed. We are a transhumanist church, the only brick and mortar transhumanist church in the world. There are no other locations for Perpetual Life, which is why we have Zoom and YouTube live streams. We do have many organizations, groups, meetings, meetups all around the world happening right now at this very moment. And I'd like to encourage more to begin. Just call on a few people. All you need is another person to create your own local group, your own local Perpetual Life group, wherever you may be, and zoom into our presentations. You don't even have to call yourself a Perpetual Life group. The important thing is to be meeting with us and meeting with your friends and meeting with others who also agree that life should be unlimited. Living should be as long as you wish to live. Death should be optional, and we should be able to live in health and super longevity as long as possible. That is what binds us and brings us all together. I'd like to point out that we have created a calendar at the Church of Perpetual Life website. If you go to perpetual.life, you'll find a calendar there, and on the calendar, many amazing things happening around the world. Maybe you didn't hear about the Unicorn Summit in Portugal, or the Global Longevity Conference at Trinity College in Dublin back earlier in July. Now, if you go to our calendar, you will know about these things. There are other things. In fact, we just posted something in China, which is coming up. We'll be telling you more about that next month. And of course, our event next month is the last Thursday in August, August the 28th. Happens to be the fourth Thursday and the last Thursday. Most of our services here at Perpetual Life are on the last Thursday of the month, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But you can join us in Zoom and talk with many super longevity enthusiasts from all over the world for that 1 hour from 6 to 7 Eastern Time at Perpetual Life. That's our social hour. Tonight, we have the great events, and then afterwards, we have what we call the after party. And in Zoom, you can stay with us if you'll simply register at the Zoom link on our website at perpetual.life. So let's move along. We've gone through all of these wonderful things, and I'd like to tell you that we are forming a pickleball club in our local location. That's Pompano Beach, over here in Pompano Beach, Florida. So you can join the pickleball club, and if you're not in Florida and you want to start a club or join a club, pickleball is one of the best ways to exercise. I find it's great fun. The best exercise, in my opinion, is what you find to be fun. Maybe you like riding a bike, swimming, gardening is even a good exercise, and a meditation experience. Pickleball, another good one. Perhaps you like something more strenuous, tennis or track. I'd like to have some people send me your photographs of your pole vaulting. I'd like to share those with my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going now into our presentation. The first presentation tonight is, in fact, our very good friend, Rudy Hoffman. I've known Rudy from, gosh, Rudy, how long have we known each other? Maybe 13, 14 years. I first met Rudy at the Venturist Conference out in Laughlin, Nevada. Our good friend, Mr. Laughlin, has been cryosuspended, and he is now resting at Alcor. Our other good friend, Doug Baldwin, has been cryosuspended, and he's resting at the Cryonics Institute in Michigan. Tonight's events will be all about cryonics, or mostly about cryonics. I know that Rudy has a few other things to talk about, and I'm sure Alex has a few things as well. But the RRG is something you'll find in our church newsletter. If you've received it, you'll find it at the bottom. That's your hot link into the RRG. Alex will be talking about that after Rudy. But let's bring up perhaps the most famous cryonicist on the planet, because he's the guy who sells all the life insurance policies to all the great cryonicists. Well, some of them anyway. I know Joe is another person that can sell them, and Rudy and Joe are great people. Let's bring up our own Rudy Hoffman.
Yay, okay. Thank you, everybody. All right, beautiful. Let's see some visual clapping there. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled about this. I am so excited, I can hardly tell you about it. But at the same time, I'm full of both enthusiasm and a little anxiety, because I really want this to be helpful and meaningful to each and every one of you. You know, we all have, for lack of better words, some delusions, and I want this to be my I have a dream speech. This is Martin Luther King speaking to 100,000 people in the Washington Mall. But you aren't 100,000 people. You're about 30 or 40 or 50 strong. But you're in your movement, in your minds, you can be that influential. And I wanted to help us, give us the tools to do that. Let's talk about technology. I want to make sure I can do my screen share, and let me know if you are seeing my PowerPoint. Yep. And I think I go to slideshow, and first current slide. Guess what? That is exactly what it's supposed to look like. Display settings. We actually try to practice this to make sure that we could this would work. Presenter view. That should be full. It should be your full screen.
Perfect.
Somebody send me an email. I don't know if I can see it or not.
You got it.
I can see you, perfect. Alex. I can see you, Randy. Can you see? Are you seeing my screen? Does that look good?
It is perfect.
Okay, cool. Because I want this to be good. I want this to be really, really fun and compelling. And you be the judge if that is. Here's my management by objective. I want us to think about what an incredibly fortunate place in life that we happen to be. On the history of a planet, there is maybe one time when things do what they're doing in our generation. One, people have the opportunity to possibly overcome death through technology. That's a biggie. And two, we are literally around to see the emergence of a new intelligence, an alien new intelligence on the planet that Alex is going to be talking about. And then that's, of course, AI and AGI. So how exciting that is that. And let's see, here's the outline. Well, we're going to talk about the bigger picture. When I mean big picture, I mean really big picture. And we're going to talk about a quick history of cryonics. Some of you already know this, but that's okay. It doesn't hurt to kind of really review where we've been, and then talk about the funding piece, which is, so we're going from abstract into highly practical and pragmatic. And let's start with a really big picture. You've seen a lot of these screens before. You guys are highly educated, highly intelligent human beings. So you know a lot of these things intellectually. What I'd like to be able to do, if I may, is to kind of reach through this screen, looking directly in that camera right there, and reach into your heart to help us feel the emotional impact of where we are at in this moment. Can you imagine that we are on a ball? This ball is spinning through space. It's a very, very tiny ball compared to the amount of space. It's one thousandth, 1 millionth, 1 billionth, 1 googleth. There's almost no number that gives you a sense of how small that little tiny blue dot is. But all 8 billion of us are on that, spinning around. And we've been here for maybe 4.5 billion years. It's taken the Earth and the universe 4.5 billion years to put you in the seat you're at right now, flying through space. And that is part of the big picture. The other part of this big picture is this. I would submit to you, and I suspect based on the earlier conversation I had with about the 30 of you who were here in the group that met from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., and we were talking about the basically ideology, because I would submit to you, first of all, ideology matters. The reality is most of us already have our dogma by the time we're adults. You guys are super smart people. You have certain ways you understand the world works. We're not going to. One of the things that I learned at a presentation out at the Rad Fest was by Joe Bardeen. He said most people have their dogma by the time they're adults, and try to change their dogma head on is going to be pretty hard. So I'm not going to try to do that. I used to think it was my job to make people feel how silly it was to believe their particular brand of superstition. And I would submit to you that the universe and the world would be a whole lot better if most of us were not quite as convinced about our particular brand of superstition that I'll call religion. By the way, whenever I use that word superstition and religion, my wife is very mad at me. So if she's maybe in another room, she may be able to hear that. So I may catch for later. But here is what the ideological part of this presentation. First of all, I think ideology matters. And because one of the things we're here tonight to talk about is cryopreservation and anti-aging, and basically finding a way to have each of us be around for much longer than nature intended. Basically, nature doesn't, give a crap about you. It doesn't evidently give a crap about pretty much anybody. I think that's what the evidence shows, and a lot of people would like to believe otherwise. I was certainly one of them, and maybe some of you still are. And please don't turn me off completely if I submit to you that there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence that the universe cares for the sparrow's fall. There doesn't seem to be about a lot of evidence in the universe that praying has any function or effect whatsoever. Basically, I don't know how many said the 6 million Jews that were killed in World War II were praying for something different to happen, but it didn't. People say, Rudy, that's a little suspicious. That's a little cynical. Well, I haven't begun to get cynical. There may be gods out there, and if there are, that would be fine. But it'd be nice if they would be a little clearer in their evidence. If any gods are out there right now, please turn me into a chicken. Oh, you almost worked. No, it did not work. Maybe I don't know if that's scary or not. Suffice it to say that I think there's good reason to believe that this particular, first of all, what we're trying to do in this group here is create some culture. It's a new kind of culture. It's a culture that's grounded in the new virtues of evidence, the virtues of empirical information, science, the virtues of reality, not superstition, we don't believe things on authoritarian reasons. We don't believe something is true because it's in a 2,000-year-old book that was written by Stone Age or Iron Age sheep herders and translated 12 times. By the way, it's probably good that most of us don't actually fulfill the commands of the Bible. Any of us kill our neighbors who, if they work on the Sabbath or Sunday? I suspect we don't. Most of us have friends who are gay, and we don't stone them. By the way, the Bible is pretty clear about that. You are supposed to kill them. If some think somebody's a witch, people have been burned at the stake because the Bible says you should not suffer a witch to live. Just because somebody has a conical hat and a big robe and lives in a big palace, that doesn't mean he's actually in touch with any sense of reality better than most any of the rest of us. And he's not infallible. Matter of fact, he basically has made a bunch of stuff up. So I submit to you that most religions are basically a bunch of stuff that's made up for various reasons. What we want to do is something different. We want to do is create a sense of responsibility toward humanity, a sense of decency and ethics, not because some God is watching you and you're going to go burn in hell if you do bad things, but because we know what is right based on our common sense, our evolved sense of community. And we want to do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because we're afraid some mythical God's going to toss us in a mythical hell or send us to a mythical heaven. Again, that may turn some of you off. Sorry. This may not, I do not speak for the Church of Perpetual Life. I'm simply speaking for myself, but I do think many of you will resonate with the basic ideas that we cannot cede the high moral ground to the people who are basically our cultural competitors called various religions, who right now are being somewhat ascendant. There is a retrograde movement afoot in the United States of America, for instance, that basically wants to put theocrats literally in charge of the government. They want a theocracy. That is probably not optimal by any means. This, again, I'm not going to get political here other than beyond what I've done, but I submit to you that when one particular group wants to impose on their particular belief system, especially if it's probably not particularly able to stand up to much critical thinking, and if they want to put their particular 10 commandments into the schools, that is not what we need. We need to have, and again, we don't have the political clout to be direct, but I do think that we should not allow anybody to say that they have a high moral ground when they simply are accepting the superstitions that are currently accepted in their culture. Religions, of course, are cultural phenomena. We know this. You know this. That's why most people who grow up in Muslim societies wind up Muslim. That are those of us who grew up in a Christian community typically are winding up Christian. The same thing goes with pretty much any cultural things called religion, those are statistically facts. So if we step back from that, perhaps we can agree that much of traditional religion is not grounded on evidence. It's not grounded on empirical facts. It's simply grounded on culture and the way that people have believed for a long time. I will move faster on the slides, but I did want to basically get this particular, you can call it a rant, but I think it's important. If we're trying to create a new organization in the Church of Perpetual Life, if we're trying to create a community of life extenders and cryonicists and people who want to use science and technology to move forward, we need to have courage to occasionally, without being obnoxious, be able to confront folks who may be trying to push and foist their particular brand of nonsense on us because they call it religion and they think it's important. Ideology is important, but let's have an ideology based in the values of the Enlightenment. Can you guys relate to that one? Okay, so let's move on. We know that progress has been made. The simple thing, there was a whole lot of time that humanity was simply literally in caves. This is about 400,000 or 500,000 years. This is what most people's existence looked like. They were struggling. And then somebody came up with some ideas. ideas that wound up changing the world. One is a wheel. And the biggie is a thing called writing, be able to put stuff down and have people learn from it years later. And all of a sudden you put things in writing and they kind of can stay. It's not just stories that get told. So you have some accountability. And it turns out that facts matter. I did want to share with you a wonderful opportunity that I think we're going to have to, because there's a thing called Our World in Data. Because again, we want to be, I'm not going to bring this website in, but it's just incredible. You just type in Our World in Data. There is information there about where humanity has been and where humanity is now. And the bottom line is it's inspiring. Humanity is right now, most of us think because of the news is mostly bad, that the world is going to heck. Most, yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before, 135,000 people on the planet moved out of absolute poverty into something different than absolute poverty. 135,000 people a day do that. The world is getting wealthier, smarter, longer lived. There's pullbacks, but the point being, Our World in Data will share in tremendous detail why there's good reason for hope. Okay, let's move on to Cryonics. Most of you are aware of this book. I have a signed copy I'm rather enthusiastic about. The Prospect of Immortality is written by Edinger in 1964. Of course, Edinger was, as many of us know, I believe a college professor, math professor, and thought, well, what would happen if we could find a way to use science and technology and cooling to maybe protect human beings? And that then has merged into this. I love this. All right, you guys ready for something funny? This is one of AI's version of what cryopreservation looks like. What do we notice about these people? Evidently, AI decided in the future, people who are even full body cryopreserved didn't necessarily need legs. They're a little short on those legs. But many people have their idea of cryonics as, well, that's some kind of science fiction technology people will use to go to the stars. I just spoke at a space conference a couple of weeks ago. 1,000 space enthusiasts who are just super smart guys, a bunch of them literally rocket scientists and engineers. And they're very enthusiastic about humanity being a spacefaring civilization. I spoke there about the cryonics, and when most of them, the people that came to my two different presentations, thought I was simply going to be talking cryopreservation is a way that humanity might get to the stars. And that certainly is true, but they didn't get the idea that you and I get, which is that cryopreservation is a real world technology now and is being developed throughout the world by multiple organizations, including Alcor, Cryonics Institute, Tomorrow Biostasis, and others. So let's just take a quick summary of those. Alcor has been around since 72, about 53 years. Cryonics Institute, almost as old. Tomorrow Biostasis, a new European organization based in Berlin, is about 6 years old. And Southern Cryonics, I guess cryopreserved their, I think, second or third person. They're in Australia. There's basically, this is a real world technology now. Is everything perfect? No, this is still a pioneering ages 54 years later. Alcor's been, I don't know, some of you have been to Alcor. Any of you guys, I don't know if I can see all of you. I can see some of you. I could be able to get some feedback. Let me see if I can find a way to change this view so I can see if anybody's jumping up and down here on any of these slides. Or if you're yawning, I'll be able to catch that too. All right, anyway, let me just give you a quick run through about the current state of cryonics today. And again, some of you may know this, but it's still helpful to get new and current information. Hi, Gary Hurst. So glad you're part of this group. Good to see you. I see you there, man. Good to see you. Alcor, of course, is based in Scottsdale or Phoenix, Arizona. This is just basically a small part of their building. It's a pretty good, impressive facility. And some of you have been to this physical plant. Oh, there's a few more pictures. This is a surprisingly low-res version of one of their operating rooms. This is the Cryonics Institute. Now we've jumped from Alcor. All of a sudden, we're a different car. This is the Cryonics Institute, is based in Detroit, technically Clinton Township, a suburb of Detroit. Erfurt Runkle. I think we got Joan Runkle joining us in this. I don't know. I can't see Joan. I'm going to see if I can find a slide of Joan Runkle. Oh, there we go. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Good deal. Yeah, Joan Runkle. I told you her father was one of the pioneers. This building is, I think he donated that. Anyway, this is part of the Cryonics Institute infrastructure in Detroit, Michigan. This is the inside of the Cryonics Institute, the doers. They've just bought another additional building. This is a different third organization. This is Tomorrow Biostasis. This is their cryonics facility built into the side of a hill in Switzerland. Super stable, good operation, another wonderful option for in the future. So the more technology, the more money, the more people we get moving in this direction, the better it is for all of us. So that's helpful to know. I won't get too deep into the woods on these timelines, but the point being, I want you to see the sense of the arc of progress. That's the theme of this presentation. Thank you guys for getting that. You guys are smart guys. I'm not sure I'm beating that up enough, but technology continues to improve. Basically human experience continues to improve. I got to take a minute and talk about one of the best books ever written. And most people know, have you ever had a chance to read the amazing Steven Pinker? This book's called Enlightenment Now, The Case for Reason, Science, Humanism, and Progress. And all of those are super important. He documents why each of these is actually happening. Again, the whole idea is for us to expand our minds, to realize we're part of this huge human improvement project. And yes, are there negatives? Yes, are there revisions backwards? Yeah, there sure are. We may be in one now. But if you zoom out and look at the larger picture, humanity has been and is on an upwards arc. And cryonics is part of that. So one of the reasons I think it's been really challenging to get people to sign up for cryonics lately is not because the technology has not been improving. It continues to improve, as we see on this slide. But quite frankly, so a lot of people are not quite convinced as they used to be that the future might be fun. Randy, you and I were talking about that earlier today. But a lot of us, 20 years ago, were techno-optimists. We thought things were just going to be amazing in the future. We thought, we dreamed of flying cars and everybody just having a great time. And, I think for various reasons, we've lost some of that. But I want us to zoom back, see the arc of human progress in a larger sense, and we can feel good about the future again. These are some details that had to do with improvements in technology. Again, the purpose of this presentation is not to do the uber deep technical innovations that make cryonics more and more real all the time. Obviously, a lot of things have occurred that have made this from a great concept into a legitimate medical intervention. But if you'll just stipulate that those are indeed happening, we won't dig too deep right now, but suffice it to say that we're moving the right direction, as you can see from the items on your screen. So this, of course, was James Bedford, the first person cryopreserved. Many of us celebrate January 12th as Bedford Day to memorialize not the first person who was cryopreserved, but we think the first person cryopreserved who remains cryopreserved. And remarkably, Bedford's brain pattern may be intact as we speak at Alcor. However, doesn't matter how great cryonics is, if it's unaffordable, if it cost $500,000 or $5 million, it would be a moot point for most of us. So there's a new technology called life insurance and annuities that enable many of us, not everybody, to kind of afford this. I won't beat this up too much, but obviously I happen to have written 2 books on this. The Affordable Immortal, Maybe You Can Beat Death and Taxes in 2018. The Cryonics Estate Planning Handbook, Maybe You Can Take It With You. And I love the picture of my editor. I would love to say I was smart enough to felt this picture. I hired a author coach. By the way, any of you have been writing, trying to get your book written, all of us have our book in us, but most of us have a hard time getting it out. It took me 17 darn years to get this first book done, and I beat myself up terribly. Went through 10 iterations of it. I had a chapter that made sure I offended each and every religion that was on the planet. But my wife and my sister read that and said, "Rudy, you cannot do this. Nobody's going to buy a book just to be pissed off." I said, "Well, they might." But turns out suffice it to say that this is a kinder, gentler version, but it does focus, I think, on the main things. I think the final 10th iteration of that's pretty decent. But suffice it to say, I think these books have been helpful. They've not moved the needle forward as much as I'd like, but nothing does. Because it doesn't matter how good cryonics is. If you can't afford it, it's a moot point. And so my mission in life is to basically share with people that many folks can through the leverage of life insurance or special annuities. Again, we're not going to go too deep into that, but suffice to say there's a bunch of different types of annuities and life insurance. You can also do what's called cryonics estate planning, where you basically take a portion of that extra life insurance not needed, or maybe a portion of your assets or your estate, put them into a cryonics trust designed to actually be there and grow while you're in the doer. Guess what? This is not theory. This is the real world. There's my cryonics trust. It says Rudy Hoffman on it someplace. That is, my wife also has one. Basically, we did this. This is 10 or 15 years old. This is like the 3rd or 4th iteration of it, because from time to time you need to update them. It was not cheap. This was about $5,000. It was not the $100,000 people used to have to pay to do some kind of cryonics trust planning. And because I've been trying to figure this stuff out for the last 10 or 15 or 20 years on the cryonics trust end, we've got some pretty good ideas we think will work. The way that we can have what's called a estate that avoids perpetuity laws. We found some people that will actually help us run and control the money, the trustees. We've got identified some people called trust protectors who are younger cryonicists. Some of you are among those, by the way, listening to this, we can trust to basically watch over those funds and help make the right decisions over time. The point being, we're not quite in the pioneering phase of the cryonics trust planning. Let me give you some quick summaries of real world numbers. This is a 20-year level term. We don't recommend term in general for life insurance, for cryonics life insurance. It's perfect for a lot of reasons. People buy life insurance. It's not ideal for cryonics. There's 2 reasons you want a permanent policy that's not term. One is called estate planning, where basically you have life insurance that pays off your estate taxes or equalizes your estate for your family when you die. The other is cryopreservation. You must have a policy that's in place affordably in the later years when we need this stuff. I got a boatload of it. I got $3 million of life insurance on me, 11 policies. Please be impressed. It cost me a shitload of money to make that claim, but it's true. All right, so anyway, term insurance is not ideal, but it's certainly a place to start if you need to. This is a 29-year-old software engineer buying a $300,000 policy. He's investing about $185 a month because it's not just a life insurance policy, it's also a savings plan. Here's a 45-year-old software real estate investor buying. Now, obviously, you see life insurance is higher at the older ages. Obviously, she's not the same 300,000 now. It's costing her a little more, but she's in a situation where some people are, where you can pay this thing off in a single swoop. She could redirect $65,000 and pay the policy off in one payment, or make 7 payments of about $12,000, or maybe she wants to pay at $2,600 a year. So there's different ways you can get your policy paid, and that's important. Even at the older years, it's possible to get coverage, but it's pricier. There's no doubt about it. Here's a a 70-year-old buying 160,000 of coverage, he's probably going to sign up with CI. That 160 would be sufficient for the Cryonics Institute and the transport people. That's still about $7,000 a year. It's not ever doable for everybody. The cool thing is we've got a new annuity funding option. This is an ugly slide, so I'm going to go back to this slide. But I'm going to talk about that annuity, and I've got the details on it, but I'm not going to go into it. It's very fine pointed. Here's a quick summary. Why, by redirecting a lump sum. So some of you listening to this who are not signed up and want to get signed up, or maybe you are signed up and you want to sign up somebody you know, like your parents, and maybe they can't qualify for life insurance or they don't want to. Jump through hoops for life insurance is a pain in the butt. I know that. I sell it, but I still got to tell you that. And maybe they've got a heart problem. Maybe they've had a cancer glitch. I'm uninsurable right now. No, by the way, those 11 companies who got that $3 million of life insurance on me, they can't change their mind. That's a cool thing about life insurance. That's why you got to jump on this stuff early while you're healthy, when you don't need it. That's an important point. So you don't sign up for Cryonics later when you're sick and dying and dead. You sign up for Cryonics early when you can do smart things to make it affordable. Does that make sense? So let's go back to that annuity. The annuity option is very simple. Basically, instead of, let's say you want to sign up for the Cryonics Institute, you need a global package of about $150,000. Many people have in their retirement program, their 401k rollover, their lump sum, maybe in the bank, maybe in their brokerage firm, they've got $150,000 sitting someplace. By simply redirecting that money over, and it doesn't matter if it's IRA qualified or not IRA qualified, we can work with any of those, 403b, 401k, you name it, we can redirect and work with any of those to where all of a sudden that now is redirected into an account. Listen to this, where there's a guarantee that no matter what happens, the amount that you put in, your principal is guaranteed. The death benefit guarantees the principal plus 5% growth every year, or the highest quarterly growth of the account. I'm not selling anything. I'm simply telling an available option. And by the way, Neil wanted to make sure that I'm not doing to sell anything. He said, don't be a salesperson. I said, well, I kind of am, but I will not be tonight. But this is just conceptually, the point being the actual growth. You don't lose the possession of the money. The money's still in your name. Just the beneficiary is the Cryonics organization. So those of us, you who are signed up and you got an aunt or an uncle or a parent or somebody else who may be sitting on some dollars someplace, if they can get a better growth rate, the actual growth rate last 21 years is 11.3% net after all expenses, after all the internal cost of the guarantee, death benefit, net 11.33 to be precise, which is pretty spectacular and probably better than most people are doing. So the point being, for in essence zero money, because the money is still theirs, they can fund their cryopreservation. That is new. That's a big deal. Hope that made sense. And I'm getting to the end here, but I hope we let you know that, again, we have some people that are working in this space to help you. This is Peggy Hoyt, the attorney that helped me write my second book. This is Justin Cairns. Come back, Justin. Where did my slides go? Sorry. Justin Cairns is one of the investment guys that can help invest the money while the cryopreservation is going. Mark House is a different estate planning attorney who also does Cryonics trusts. So here's the conclusion. It's possible, one, we want Cryonics as a cool thing. It's still emerging tech, but I think it's just something that you should be proud of if you're involved in it. The big picture, again, here we are in 2025. Can you just take a minute in your mind to think about this moment and think about what this moment might look like if you were looking back from it 1,000 years from now? Maybe you're in a different star system. Maybe you're not even a physical, corporeal being. Maybe you're a being of light. Maybe you're a computer program. But you're looking back on this moment, July the 31st, 2025, saying, oh my goodness, I'm here because I made a super smart decision on that date. I want you to think big. I want you to think long range. We might be a part of literally peopling the galaxy with billions of people throughout the galaxy, and you individually might be a part of that. So that is my conclusion. I hope we can, this has been made some sense to you, and I appreciate your kind attentions. Thank you. And the crowd goes wild. Okay, let's see. We practiced this transition. Evan, I believe you are going to be transitioning back to our friend Neil.
Yep.
And
Well, no, Neil's not here, man. You got to go directly to
You're transitioning. You're transitioning over to him, Rudy.
all right.
Yes.
So anyway, but I think we'll probably have a Q&A section, but I don't think it's scheduled in at this moment. So I don't know if I'm, Neil, do you take over? Are you still there? I think Neil is not taking over. I think, guess, you know that's second or third slide that says you're on your own. Nobody's coming to save you. That's the revelation I'm having now. But instead of Yahweh, it's not coming. In this case, it's Neil Vandry. I believe we're going to
unshare. If you unshare your slide here, I can share mine, and we can go with. I think I can control it from here.
All right. Let's see. Let me
do some updates.
Stop share mode here. If I do the stop share mode.
Yeah, I think I can do it now. Yeah.
Okay. So Evan, your control has been moved back to you.
Looks good.
Or
yeah, it looks good.
I would.
Yep.
Let me see.
By the way, I would deeply love to have some feedback about that privately. If you want to email me at rudyhoffman.com, say that something like that was one of the finest presentations I've ever heard in my life would be a really nice verbiage. So, but on the other hand, if you just want to say that was horrible and lame and confusing, you can say that, but tell me how I can make it better.
So
let's see. We got Dennis.
Well, am I ready to go?
I believe, and you were kind enough, Alex, to say that I can stay kind of on here with you if that's okay.
Yeah. If you have a question, or you think somebody might have a question, let me address it a little bit. Otherwise, I'll just keep going.
I'm excited to tell about Alex Crouch. Can I just tell you, real guy? We won't do a major introduction because you'll be telling us about yourself, Alex. But Alex is one of the nicest, kindest, most caring, and equally, most nicely motivated human beings I know. And he'll tell you why he cares about cryonics in a very meaningful way. But he's got some really stunning slides here he's going to fly through. I know it's. I think I took about 45 minutes, which is about right. And in about, we want to be able to have time for Q&A at the end. So, I think we figured this was about 40 minutes or so, Alex. And he's going to go through some really cool slides. I think you're going to like this. Alex Crouch.
Okay, great. Thank you. This talk is about the real work of revival, not just freezing and waiting, but building the bridges across biology, AI, time itself that could make return possible. If we want revival to happen, we can't just hope for it, we have to engineer it. And if we build the right systems, I believe we'll be ready sooner than most people think. Okay, about me. My name's Alex, and I've been a Cryonics member for over 20 years, a member of Cryonics Institute. Both my mom and dad are patients at Cryonics Institute, and I've been a member, like I said, there for about 20 years myself. And I have an active cryonics contract with them. I believe that we can use AI to search for the path that will bring my parents and every other cryonics patient home. And I think it's not too early for us to start thinking about it. AI, some people would say, well, what good is artificial intelligence? What does it really? What does it really do? So in a nutshell, AI helps us uncover nature's hidden patterns. What once felt like magic starts to become science. If we can explain something clearly in language, we can build it. That's the real lesson AI is offering us. Language reveals structure, and structure becomes action. Okay. What is the RRG? It's me and a bunch of AIs thinking about the future together and coming up with ideas and stretching the limits of what we're going to need to do to get to revival. So why are we confident that we're close? It says we're not asking for blind faith, just open eyes. The core revival technologies, AI, nanotech, bioprinting, brain modeling, are accelerating and starting to interlock. This isn't a matter of belief anymore, it's visible convergence. We believe that there are 6, really 7 bridges to revival. We can kind of bundle the technologies into 6 different groups or bridges. From cryopreservation all the way to restored consciousness, each bridge represents a domain we need to cross. Preservation, repair, regeneration, integration, testing, and cognition. This is the roadmap, and there's a 7th bridge we'll take on as a bonus. We'll get to that at the end. Extropy. Why is it important? What is it? Why are we measuring it? He says, well, extropy is AI's compass. It can tell us how close a technology is to being real. High extropy means high clarity, testability, and engineerability. Our AI uses this to score every revival idea, from speculation to deployment. When we say something is possible, we're not guessing, we're showing you the engineering signal behind the dream. So the first bridge is the preservation bridge. It's where everything begins. The goal is simple: keep patients in a state that can one day be repaired. Thanks to breakthroughs in vitrification and perfusion, we're getting better at protecting delicate tissues. The next leap is adding AI, real-time monitoring, automated adjustments, and eventually preservation systems that think ahead to prevent damage before it happens. The next bridge is the repair bridge. It focuses on undoing the damage, whether from aging, disease, or freezing. We're already seeing DNA repair tools like CRISPR and simulations that let us model cellular structures down to the molecule. The next step is targeted nanomachines designed to enter cells and fix what's broken. Ultimately, we want full AI-driven repair orchestration, systems that diagnose damage and carry out complex repairs with microscopic precision. Did I skip one? There it is. Regeneration bridge. Okay, this is about rebuilding what has been lost. Tissues, organs, even full systems. We already have stem cell breakthroughs and early stage bioprinting. Next, we need vascularized cryocompatible tissues and the ability to integrate neural systems. The long-term goal is to regrow entire organs and eventually entire bodies using the patient's own biology. The integration bridge is the mind-body reintegration that is even more conceptual. We're getting a little bit further down. Revival isn't just about waking up your brain, it's reconnecting it to a functioning body and a coherent sense of self. Brain-computer interfaces and synthetic body systems are already emerging. The next step is a safe, patient-specific neural reintegration. Ultimately, we aim for full cognitive embodiment, whether in restored biological bodies or advanced biohybrid systems. That sounds interesting. Maybe we can get into that in a different talk later. The testing bridge is, before we bring anyone back, we have to make sure everything works safely, reliably, and personally. We're already simulating repairs in organoids and animal models, and we're building digital twins for treatment planning. The next step is full body revival rehearsals in virtual environments. Ultimately, we want personalized revival simulations, tested, verified, and ready before the patient ever opens their eyes. The 6th bridge is the cognitive bridge, mind, restoration, and continuity. Revival isn't just about restoring body, it's about restoring a mind. We're mapping connectomes, preserving brain structures, and using AI to reconstruct memory and personality from life logs and digital traces. The next step is rebuilding cognition with continuity. So the person who wakes up still knows who they are and is known by those who love them. The bonus last bridge I wanted to talk about at the end is embodiment. This is robotics, and we're seeing this happen right now. AI won't just live in the cloud, it's coming home. With robotics gaining dexterity and context awareness, we're heading towards embodied AI that can assist with real-world care, repair, and reintegration. From personalized medical tasks to lifelong companionship, this bridge ensures revival doesn't end with reanimation, it continues with support for life lived fully. And for more information, this is our contact. You can sign up for the Revival Research Group newsletter. It's a free newsletter.